Alright YouTube, so it's been a few days since your boy put out a video. Had a busy weekend, alcoholic beverages, recovering on Columbus Day, but we're back at it again today with a new video about Wolfenstein II, the new Colossus. So Bethesda dropped an article today titled 11 New Ways to Kill a Nazi in Wolfenstein II, the new Colossus. We don't make a lot of videos on this game. I made like one video about it where like people were bitching because you can kill Nazis, which is kind of crazy. And then I might have mentioned this game, I think at least one other time, which was in the Bethesda E3 2017 recap video I did. And that's kind of it. I don't really make videos about this series because it's not a series that I personally play. So I figured the people in my subscriber base that like the Wolfenstein series might like this video. BJ Blazkowicz might have been mowing down Nazis for a quarter century now, but this old dog has plenty of new tricks in Wolfenstein II, the new Colossus. Coming to Nazi-infested America to unite the resistance against the tyrannical regime, BJ is bringing along some new tools to help shoot, stab, shock, separate, strangle, sunder, shatter, singe, and strike down any and all Nazis he encounters along the way. While classic standbys like shotguns and grenades still get the job done, here are 11 brand new methods for putting down a Nazi that make their debut in the new Colossus. Make it personal. Sometimes a classic run and gun is all BJ needs to take down a group of Nazi forces. However, as he becomes more familiar with his growing roster of weapons, he can begin adding a few personal touches to make his guns and grenades even stronger. Using weapon upgrade kits found in the field, BJ can tack on new attachments to his existing armaments, granting them such goodies and gadgetry as advanced firing modes, scopes, extended magazines, armor-piercing capabilities, or even superheated ammunition. Thankfully, BJ can choose how to use the consumable kits at will, allowing him to prioritize the upgrades that suit his style best and makes crafting the perfect arsenal a matter of personal taste. This one was a bit surprising to me, okay, because there's 9 games before the new Colossus, and they span from like 1981 till 2015. You're telling me just now that they're adding weapon upgrades and shit to the game? Maybe they mean like picking them off the ground to be able to customize them on the fly is what's new. But if it's just weapon upgrades in general are new to the series, that's kind of crazy. Of course it's a good thing, but like you're talking about a series that's over 25 years old. Again, I have not played a whole lot of the series. I played the old school ones. It's not a series I kept up with. So maybe you guys can tell me below, are weapon upgrades completely new? Shoot him with 2 different guns at once. Dual-wielding weapons makes a return in the new Colossus, but BJ is adding a twist to make Nazi killing twice as nice this time around. In a feat of both strength and dexterity, BJ can now wield 2 unique weapons in each hand, throwing in 2 different kinds of firepower into the mix at once. Not only is this useful for pumping a surplus of lead into especially tough Nazis, like Armored Super Soldat, but it also opens up strategic possibilities. Facing a squad of Nazi elites alongside a stalking Panzerhund, Blazkowicz can equip the fast-firing, holy shit, machine and pistol in one hand, and the hard-hitting Kampf pistol in the other hand to take down any Nazi force come what may. So this I actually do like as well, because in most games, when you dual wield, you almost always dual wield the exact same weapon, especially with guns. There's other games where you can equip 2 different swords or something. But when it comes to guns, you almost always dual wield the same gun. From the sound of this, it sounds like you can dual wield any 2 weapons you want. So you can have a shotgun in your left hand, some kind of automatic weapon in your right hand, and you can just destroy a bunch of dudes at one time. So that sounds pretty interesting to me. Tower over them. Sometimes to get the advantage, you need to get a vantage. That's clever. In the new Colossus, BJ wields a series of newfangled mechanical contraption in addition to his usual weapons that offer him that extra little something in battle. One such contraption is the Battle Walker, a sturdy spring-loaded pair of high-tech stilts that not only help BJ access hard-to-reach ledges and hidden areas, but also provide a bird's-eye view of the battlefield. Nazis cowering behind low walls or taking up the high ground will soon regret their decision when they look up and see Terrorbilly himself standing over them, guns ablazing. There are 3 total contraptions available in the new Colossus. While BJ can decide which of the body-modifying items to unlock first, Blazkowicz will eventually have the entire trio at his disposal, turning him into an even finer-tuned Nazi-killing machine. So, of course, these sound pretty cool. Only having 3 of something sounds like a small number when it comes to being a modern video game. But at least there's something, and it says by the end of the game you have all 3 anyways, but you get to choose which one you want to use first. Me personally, I'd probably go with the Battle Walker. It depends on what the other 2 are, obviously, but that one lets you get up to high vantage points and also access hidden areas and ledges, so why wouldn't you want that? Because there's no telling what you can find on those ledges and hidden areas. Shoulder check them. Next up in BJ's set of contraptions are the ramshackles, which put a new spin on the phrase charge into battle. Upon donning the shackles, BJ is anything but restrained, allowing him to move with such speed and force that certain obstacles in his way, including Nazi bodies, are obliterated in his path. Not only do the shackles reward bold movement in battle, turning BJ's evasive maneuvers into offensive ones in an instant, but they can also aid in exploration by knocking down weakened walls. It just goes to show that sometimes the only way out is through. So there we learn about another one of the contraptions, which actually sounds as good as well, but I still prefer the other ones because they're reminiscent of Destiny, maybe like Titanfall or the modern Call of Duties where you jump and boost up into the air. I'm used to gameplay like that in my first-person shooter games, so that's more something I would use, but it sounds like these shackles will also lead to maybe hidden areas because you can knock down weakened walls, or maybe that opens up other flank routes or something, but either way, they sound as good too. Strike them when they least expect it. While not a Nazi-killing weapon per se, the Constrictor Harness is still a lethal contraption in compatible hands, able to squeeze BJ's buff frame small enough to fit in pipes, vents, and other hard-to-reach places. The Constrictor Harness creates new possibilities for stealth and, more importantly, surprise takedowns. Unsuspecting Nazis quickly fall prey to a tucked-away Blazkowicz, who can drag his target in for a quick kill and then hide away in another cramped space before anyone else is the wiser. For those who prefer a quieter approach to combat, especially when reinforcement calling Nazi commanders are involved, the Constrictor Harness can be just as useful for picking off Nazis as a silenced pistol. So we actually learn about the third contraption as well, which this one to me sounds kind of funny. Obviously it's good and everything, but I don't know how relevant that is to the series. I don't know if this is something they've done before. Obviously the contraptions themselves are new to the series, as the article suggests, but all the same, shrinking your body down and squeezing it into pipes sounds kind of funny to me. Chop 'em. As Jörg Gustafsson once said, there are a lot of things you can do with a hatchet and a Nazi. The executive producer at Machine Games wasn't kidding. In the new Colossus, BJ takes those words to heart, using the bladed tool as his melee weapon of choice. As efficient as it is brutal, the hatchet can be used to hack down a Nazi guard without causing a ruckus, making it particularly effective when taking a stealth approach. But it can just as easily be used in the middle of a fierce firefight when the enemy is too close for comfort or ammo is scarce. Not really much to say about this part other than, did they not have melee weapons before, or maybe was his melee weapon different, the hatchet's new? I'm not entirely sure, but there's nothing wrong with having a melee weapon, of course. You gotta kind of have that in an FPS game. Chop 'em, but from afar. BJ's skills with the hatchet remain viable even from a respectable distance. Using disposable, evenly weighted throwing hatchets found in the wild, BJ can toss an axe to take out stray Nazis with the same efficiency and subterfuge of an up-close attack. The best part, should BJ stumble over the Nazi whose back his hatchet is embedded in, he can recover and reuse it, saving precious ammunition. This means that killing Nazis with a thrown hatchet is not only quick and deadly, it's also renewable. Score 1 point for the environment. So for me, personally, I really like this. I like being able to silently kill somebody with a melee weapon at a range, like throwing knives, hatchets, whatever the case. And the fact that you can recover it adds to the realism of the game. I hate games where I throw a throwing knife into somebody's back and I go over there and can't recover it. That just doesn't make any damn sense to me. It's a melee weapon. It's going to be stuck in the back of their head or their back. I can just pull it out and reuse it again if I wanted to. Blast them. Sometimes bullets and blades aren't enough to put a Nazi in his place. That's where the diesel Kraftwerk comes in. Firing sticky blobs of combustible fuel, the diesel Kraftwerk quickly plants explosives that can be remotely detonated with a press of a button. It might not be subtle, but BJ need not worry about keeping a low profile when it's Nazi barbecue night and the diesel Kraftwerk is the one serving up plates. What the fuck? Just be sure to keep a safe distance from the sticky bombs, lest BJ also wind up on the menu. Now, I really like this weapon as well. And it's kind of an original weapon, not necessarily the idea of it, but what the ammunition is, the combustible, sticky fuel, whatever. That sounds like an original type of weapon. But I do this a lot in some stealthy games where, you lay some sort of explosive next to a barrel, a box, on the wall. You get somebody's attention, have them walk by, and blow it up. That's something I love to do in some games, so this sounds pretty fun to me. Zap 'em. Depending on if Fergus winds up in the new Colossus timeline over Wyatt, BJ might eschew the fire and gasoline of the diesel Kraftwerk for something a little more focused. Making a return, with some upgrades of course, is the Laser Kraftwerk, a supercharged powerhouse with a laser beam that cuts down even the toughest armor like a hot knife through some kind of food that easily melts. So long as BJ can find the juice to keep the Laser Kraftwerk running, he'll be cooking Nazis like Wiener Schnitzel till the cows come home. The first part referring to Fergus or Wyatt has to do with the previous game, The New Order, where you get to choose if one of them lives or dies. and I don't know how it's going to carry over. Maybe it can check an old save or something. I'm not entirely sure. The weapon itself sounds like a pretty standard, like electric laser type of weapon. You just zap them till they die. Like, it sounds cool, I guess. Kill 'em on the go. If there's anything better than killing Nazis with hatchets, contraptions, and custom weapons, it's killing Nazis with hatchets, contraptions, and custom weapons from the comfort of your bed or convenience of the bus ride home. With Wolfenstein II, the new Colossus, making its way to the Nintendo Switch next year, players can take BJ's exploits from the screen to their handhelds seamlessly, meaning you won't have to miss vaporizing Nazis just because someone else needs the TV. Of course, be mindful when playing the new Colossus on public transport. Stomping on Nazis is a cause all can get behind, but it's not necessarily appropriate content for all ages. Kind of a weird little tagline at the end there. Just because your shit's rated M for mature does not mean kids aren't playing it. People don't really care about that shit these days. Anyways, when it comes to the Nintendo Switch, that's kind of cool, whatever. I personally am not going to carry my Nintendo Switch out into public, especially on public transport. You're going to get fucking robbed. It's so stupid. Look at Pokemon Go, for instance. People were doing Pokemon Go shit. People were meeting up in parks and things like that, looking for like the lures and shit, and people were getting fucking robbed, dude. Fuck that bullshit. I am not leaving my house with the Nintendo Switch unless I'm with my family or something. Introduce them to a fire-breathing mechanical hound. There's one way to kill Nazis that screams Wolfenstein. It's with a robotic quadruped beast that incinerates Nazis with napalm breath. We must admit, few things can define the Wolfenstein experience quite like riding atop an iron-wrought hellhound, lighting up Nazis like cheap matches. Turning such an inhuman weapon against their inhuman creators is a special kind of cathartic irony that both BJ and ourselves can really appreciate. That, and, it's a fire-breathing robot that burns Nazis. So this obviously sounds cool. I just wonder if it's something that you can use anytime you want to, if you gotta earn it, find it on the map, if it can fight alongside you, if you gotta ride it the entire time. There's a few things I want to know, but obviously riding a giant mechanical hound that breathes fire and burns Nazis sounds like a good time to me. So there you have it, guys. 11 new ways to kill a Nazi in Wolfenstein II, the new Colossus. Killing a Nazi in any way sounds pretty fun to me. I could do that with just about any game. Any game that allows me to slaughter waves of Nazis is a game that I am somewhat interested in. I might end up picking this up. It'll be the first Wolfenstein I've played in a very fucking long time. Like I said near the beginning, this is not a game that I ever do videos for, but it's not always about me here on the channel. I do have a subscriber base, and maybe they're interested in this game. Who knows? So hopefully you guys went on to enjoy the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Turn on notifications. Follow me on Twitter at @TheDashingDavid. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face. Tell me that you love me, even if it's fake, 'cause I don't fucking care.